Ladies and gentlemen, hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Vampire Coast led by Zyro facing off against the Sons of Sigmar, who are going to be helmed by Boos here on the edge of the Darkwoods. We have the Man Tide versus Zombie Tide, and let's go ahead and take a look at the builds. So for the coastline here, it's going to be zombie deckhand mobs, just different variants all across the front line, which makes sense. You don't have any other choices really for cheap infantry. Animated Hulks, I do like them mixed in if you're going to be doing a more forward aggressive Vampire Coast build. They can push down Empire Knights and some of the heavy armor that Sigmar can bring into the front line, so I do like the Animated Hulks here, and they're so cheap too. Even if they get picked apart by missiles, it's not the end of the world. It's not like you're losing a Mourngul or something really pricey, upwards of 1,000 gold here. So Bombers in the secondary, just more aggression, looking to push the State Troopers off the objective and, maybe try and stuff them back. And it is going to be Celestra Deerfin. So she's pretty good. Tidecall is excellent at clearing out the light armor of the State Troopers, and Ghost of the Past is insanely powerful. You just get her in the front line, you waste some State Troopers with her Tidecall, then you summon this in their secondary, and you're able to run down some Huntsmen, Silver Bullets, whatever you're looking to do. It's incredibly powerful, so I like that choice. And then Doggos on the outside, so Scurvy Dogs to grab some Vanguard points, and that's going to be it with some big elite crabs in the back. It is going to be Lamprey's Revenge. Now for the Sigmarite army, it's going to be a State Trooper core of Spearmen and Swordsmen, so standard stuff for fighting the zombies. A single cannon. I like cannons against Coast. They're not bad. You can shoot the Animated Hulks, the Crabs, whatever. If they have a bigger lore target, that's also going to be decent. You do have to invest a bit into protecting them between Fellbat, Scurvy Dogs, and the Ghosts of the Past. It can be very tough to keep a cannon online, but I'm curious to see if the Empire player is going to be able to do it. Huntsman up in the Vanguard, so it's going to be triple Huntsman. A great choice here. Coast does have a lot of big, lightly armored large targets like Animated Hulks and Mournguls, so having these guys in the mix is always great. And honestly, they perform very well against the rest of the Coast stuff too, just like the infantry and some of the guns, right? Because I believe they have more range. Yeah, 160 range compared to the 145 of the Vampire Coast guns. Toddy's a good choice. Coast does have good sniping as well. So Toddbringer is going to be nice because he can endure some of the light shooting coming in from Vampire Coast and still provide some nice stopping power. Now, this is the only thing that I'm a little bit on the fence about from the Empire build is the Knights of the Black Rose. You don't really need, in my opinion, Knights. Like, these guys excel at, obviously, I guess in this matchup they would excel against the deckhand mobs, which many of them have halberds, so it's not a great trade for you. I guess Depth Guard polearms are probably going to be a little bit more common in this matchup, but yeah, they're certainly better in terms of just staying and killing power than Empire Knights, but typically Empire Knights can get the job done. But yeah, really curious to see how these Knights of the Black Rose do. I guess, okay, it occurs to be having one Knight of the Black Rose might be a good choice for dealing with the Fellbats and the Scurvy Dogs because they have anti-infantry, so they'll kill those infantry-sized units incredibly quickly. So okay, I can see that. We'll see how it works out here. So Coast's going to be calling in artillery, actually. I thought it was going to be pure aggression Coast from the look of the build, but it looks like they're going to be using their own arty. So we have double cannons being called in. Toddy eating a couple cannon shells to the face out of the gates, but he's going to be juking on back and avoiding some of the cannonballs. Oh, he just kind of got lucky there and dodged that one by stopping his movement. So gunnery mobs heading towards objective 1 to reinforce that. Scurvy Dogs obviously going to be looking to get into the backfield. They're kind of eyeing that cannon, but in the woods, the Sigmarites do have some Spearmen and some State Troopers heading towards the back objective. First Tidecall is going to be going down here. Does melt a lot of the Spearmen's HP. Doesn't kill any models, but usually just does the HP damage first. And now the Huntsmen are going to be unleashing some big salvos into the Animated Hulks, which is going to be cost effective for sure. That's basically like the dream target for the Huntsmen. Although I guess they're going after the Bomber mobs, which isn't a terrible idea. The Bomber mobs will annihilate your State Troopers, right? So getting those guys off the table is going to allow your infantry to have a much better fight. But the Huntsmen are going to want to pull back here, a little bit overextended. Meanwhile, in the backfield, we do have the cannons, and the cannons are going to be shooting into the Hulks here as well. So Hulk smash indeed. And on the backside, the Knights of the Black Rose. It looks like they have found some units in the woods. So, hey, a good start for them. These are just the 300 gold pistol mobs, so they're going to have a terrible time as the badass Knights of the Empire move in. And they're going to make very quick work of these ambushing zombies that, certainly gave away their position by shooting there. So, scary stuff. Now, I was going to say it's probably a Burning Headcaster, and we do see a Burning Headcaster come out of the woods. There's really not any lore magic that's better against Vampire Coast. It's just so damn powerful. Maybe Flock of Doom could be okay too, but yeah, Burning Head is just so good against undead and zombie-type infantry, right? So the Empire Cannon trading in, and what are the cannons of the Vampire Coast shooting? It looks like the Coast Cannons are not shooting anything at the moment, so a bit of a lapse in micro. They haven't been given an order. They're moving up to go after the Huntsmen. At this point, yeah, there's not too many great targets for the Coastline Cannons. Certainly some, let's see, what could they possibly shoot? Yeah, if they can maybe get in range of the Empire Cannon, that might be a good trade, like the 2-on-1. In the woods, the Knights of the Black Rose able to clean up shop, and they did take out those pistol mobs. And the Coast Army is just going to be cackling on the objective. We do have a bit of skirmishing going on in the woods, and it looks like these Scurvy Dogs did try and move through the woods, but they were met by some Sigmarite State Troopers, so the Troopers are able to find the Doggos. And it looks like the doggos are going to be trying to move past them and head to the opponent's backfield. So yeah, they're trying to squeal on by and get to that cannon, but yeah, Empire player is probably just going to be calling out like a an Empire Knight or something like that. It should be totally fine. So in the back, Huntsmen now getting their ideal targets, shooting into the animated hulks. I do think, based on the army composition I'm seeing here, it is a bit of a mistake from Zyro not to, go pedal to the metal aggression. He's just taking a lot of fire from these Huntsmen, and at least pull the hulks back so they don't eat these shots. Make your opponent waste ammunition into your zombie-powered deckhand mobs and things like that. Now, we get Sirens being called out. Sirens a pretty good choice. Empire does have Burning Head, but, if you can avoid the Burning Head caster and use the 48 movement speed of these guys to stay away from that, it's not bad. Empire still with the back pressure, though, so we do see the Spearmen moving up through the trees, and the Empire Knights are able to run interference, so the Sigmar Knights called in the heavy cav, and they were able to deal with the dogs. It's very, very kind of Van Helsing-esque. Like, I love these, like, scary woods, and then you have the Empire Knights battling some, vampiric beasts in the wood lines. Yeah, it's very, very good flavor on that. But, yeah, Spearmen will be able to take down those pistols eventually. Now, it looks like the Vampire Coast is going to be calling out the Damn Knights Errant, so Slaughter are going to be dropping it. One of the animated hulks does take a little bit of a beating here, but the Knights do move in and are going to be getting into the cookie jar, so these Huntsmen do not have too much help nearby, and they're going to be forced to retreat, but not before they take pretty massive casualties. You can see casualties going down across all three. One of the units really getting butchered here, and there's going to be a Burning Head in response, a beautiful one. And yeah, the Coast really needs to be aggressive. Like, this Coast army should just be pushing the Empire back into the Shadow Realm while pressuring their home objective. It's just kind of the style of the build, and, it's just a lesson learned. But Damn Knights Errant, though, able to chase back the Huntsmen, and the Spearmen and Empire Knights do run interference and are able to head them off. But, honestly, it's even fine, because the Damn Knights Errant have 100% AP value, because they're ghostly, so they can do good damage against the Empire Knights as well, and they will fight to the bitter end more or less. On the backfield, we do get some cheeky play. It's the Empire Knights emerging from the trees as well as the Spearmen. So there's going to be two Spearmen hanging out there. And it looks like they're going to be retreating, seeing the Sirens coming in. I don't blame them. They don't want to be fighting it. And also, the Empire Cav here should signal the retreat. The Empire Knights do not want to be fighting against the Sirens. It's going to be a pretty awful trade for them. Sirens do a whole bunch of damage against these type of armored units, considering they are AP and they have 100% AP. So none of their damage is non-armor piercing because they're like ghosts. So they're basically ghostly blades pierce any armor, right? It's pretty scary stuff. Now, the Coast Army still engaging very lightly in the front. They have moved back the animated hulks, and they're really going to be kind of pressing and trying to bait the Sigmar Knights forward. We do see a Fellbat in the back, so the Fellbat did make it back here, but the Empire is able to call out the Free Company Militia, which are so cool. I love Free Company Militia. And they do get some nice pistol shots, so those are going to be some crashing down Fellbats. They're going to be paying the Troll Soul, and the Huntsman able to turn about face and get the shots. The points lead isn't too big for the Vampire Coast, and the Empire does have a really big value lead right now, just from kind of shooting the Huntsmen and wasting a lot of the army, getting a ton of value in there. And on the backfield, we do see the zombie-powered gunnery mobs hanging out, and the Sirens in the woods chasing down the Empire Knights, which 48 speed against 59 speed right now, so it's really not a bad chase for the Sirens. If there's a single lapse in micro from the Empire player, they can get in there and do some work. Some Empire Knights also crashing into the gunnery mobs, again, being chased by the doggos. And is the Empire going to be sounding the horn of war? It looks like they are. So the Coast, we'll see if the Coast patience is paid off. Personally, I think it was a mistake, but, we will find out. So moving up are the State Troopers. Boris Todbringer is going to be nearby as well. Bomber mobs getting a really, really good value bombardment right there. Those Spearmen basically KO'd and sent back to the Shadow Realm. So the powder weaponry very, very nasty. And those troopers are going to be running for the hills. Advancing up, we do have Spearmen preparing to engage against deckhand mobs. Boris Todbringer going to be looking to probably shut down some of the bombers, which wouldn't be a bad idea. Meanwhile, on the back objective, the Empire Knights do manage to crumble down the pistol mob and get the Scurvy Dogs close to crumbling. But the Sirens, I really like the choice of Sirens. I think against Empire, a build like this for Vampire Coast, if you were to just cut the cannons and go like 2 or 3, maybe even up to 4 Sirens, and use them to flank pressure the back objective while keeping an eye on the Burning Headcaster, you can get an insane amount of pressure on Empire, and they can really, really struggle to deal with it. But now the front lines have clashed, and the Huntsmen obviously going to be shooting into whatever they can. Animated Hulks just got to avoid the spears while they can, but many of the Hulks are getting smashed up. The Spearmen, the State Troopers, do have good anti-large against light armor. And here we have the Chad Bright Wizard. I always love when Empire Wizards are kind of like battle wizards fighting in the front line. I think it's so flavorful. But fighting shoulder to shoulder with the State Troopers. We do see some of the Spearmen folding here. On the side, Free Company Militia going to be trying to waste these animated hulks. And now on the outside, we have Mourngulls waiting in ambush, but the Spearmen should be able to easily deal with them. And gunnery mobs, and is it going to be more gunnery mobs? No, more Scurvy Dogs. All right. So trying to get the back pressure. In the middle, though, Vampire Coast is holding the point, and that is going to be a problem for the Empire. And suddenly the value difference is 5.1 against 5.5. So the game got really, really close. And a lot of the value there is actually Boris Todbringer taking quite a beating. It looks like he landed in the Lamprey's Revenge and did get kind of beaten up by those crabs. Those crabs do also have shotguns on their back with armor piercing, so they can shoot against them pretty effectively. And there's another tide call into the State Troopers, while the Huntsman Corps is continuing to try and eviscerate the undead. But not getting through super quickly here. Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs are pushing up. We do get the Free Company Militia coming in to reinforce, as well as the Sigmar Suns. Sigmar Suns are good in this matchup once the bombers have been dealt with. They really cut through zombies very effectively, but if there are bomber mobs, it's just going to be a huge value pit, and you're going to be paying the troll toll pretty good. So cannons, not sure what they're shooting into. I think they're just auto-firing, and the Vampire Coast cannons, I have no idea what happened to them. They must have used their ammo and then been unsummoned at some point, I would wager. More Free Company Militia here getting bombarded, so pretty nasty stuff as the animated Hulks continue to Hulk smash against the Free Company, and they are going to be sent running to the hills, while Boris Todbringer, using his Blood Roar as well as other mechanics here to apply a pretty substantial leadership debuff. So Blood Roar is -8 and Crush the Weak is -4. So against zombies that have like just god-awful leadership, it's actually really good for lowering their leadership and getting them to crumble a little bit quicker. Toddy going to be jumping after the zombies here. Huntsman still online, a little bit attacked by some of the deckhand mobs, but they are getting their salvos in. But now we get some Depth Guard arriving. So Depth Guard are going to be a little bit problematic here, although we do see some Demogryph Knight Halberds. Now they do have armor piercing, and a head-on fight not going to be great, but if the Demogryph Knights could cycle charge in the back of the Depth Guard while they're fighting something else, they could feasibly get some decent kills. Grenade launchers are also a pretty excellent tool for dealing with such units, and I love grenade launchers in this matchup. Because the bomber mobs, I forget what the range is. It's 55, and grenade launchers have 80. So with really good micro, if Coast goes for a build like this and doesn't have any longer range shooting, you can use grenade launchers to massive effect, and they can do some nasty work. So Empire Knight's still cleaning up in the backfield a little bit, but the Vampire Coast is holding onto the objective, and this is clearly going to be a situation where the Sigmarites are going to have to triple cap the Vampire Coast, and I can kind of suspect the game is close enough that I think it's going to come down to that. I think that the Empire is eventually going to be wrestling this objective from the Vampire Coast, but the question is it going to be long enough, right? Empire Knights coming back and continuing to just farm with the cannon in the backfield, and the Undead sending in waves and waves of the polearm mobs, but the capture weight is starting to flip, and the Demogryph Knights providing some nice anti-large against Lamprey's Revenge, but they don't want to stay there because of the Depth Guard polearms, right? Depth Guard polearms will cut them apart pretty badly. Demogryph Knights, oh man, I'm so excited. So in Tabletop, the Empire just got their update, and you can bring Demogryph Knights as various knights nightly orders. So you can use them as like Demogryph Knights of the White Wolf if you want to make them like Ulrich-based Demogryph Knights. You can do Knights and More, which is really nice. It gives them magic damage and also gives them, I believe it gives them fear. Granted, Demis already cause fear, so I don't know if that upgrades them to terror. I'll have to read into the rules, but yeah, they're really, really cool. So Huntsman and Free Company Militia, ripping some good shots. A little bit of a blunder here. It's very easy to do in a hectic game, but the Free Company are stacked on top of the Huntsman, so their shooting is going to be heavily mitigated. And now the Empire has been able to get this objective, and we are going to be seeing the Vampire Coast probably reroute their units over to the side, I would imagine. They've kind of got to, right? Although on the backside, it looks like there are some shenanigans afoot. We do get Mourngulls piling in, as well as the long investment, the dividend stocks here, as the Zombie Pirate Gunnery mobs move up. But the Mourngulls, Scurvy Dogs are actually really good at killing Spearmen. Spearmen have a god-awful melee attack against things that aren't big. So the Scurvy Dogs can get in there and rip them up and basically take like no damage in the process. So yeah, this back objective could be flipping, which is going to keep the Vampire Coast in the game, right? That's pretty cheeky there. We do get some Empire Knights being called in. Should be pretty good against most of these units. Granted, Mourngulls can slap up Empire Knights in a straight fight pretty badly. You would need like Knights of the Blazing Sun to really effectively cut through these units very quickly. And Knights of the Blazing Sun, I think, are very good in this matchup too. But Empire Knights do arrive. Toddy's going to be trying to help. Burning Head wouldn't be a bad idea to clear out some of the doggos and or the pistol mob here. Toddy ripping apart the Scurvy Dog unit here, but is eating some pistol fire in the process and has approached his healing cap, as we do get the Demogryph Knights being pulled back here. And this is definitely a game that Coast can still win, despite some what I perceive as blunders early on of not being a little bit more aggressive, but maybe it was the right choice. I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like with a build like that, he took a lot of damage that didn't need to be taken. Maybe just more conservative play with the animated Hulks and let the deckhand mobs eat the shooting, but I don't know. Hard to say, because you need the deckhand mobs to buffer against the spears, so it's a tricky situation. Mourngulls, though, going to get folded up, obviously, and this objective, it looks like it was held by the Empire, so it didn't end up flipping. The Demogryph Knights and Empire Knights and the Bright Wizard and Toddy were able to arrive in time to salvage the objective, so the Mourngulls here, the wacky inflatable arm boys, are going to be taken down by the might of Sigmar. You can see the Bright Wizard, very cool. Now, why the hell does a Bright Wizard... I feel like all mages should literally just do magic damage in melee. There's so many weird things in this game, like little strange oversights, right? It's not a huge deal, but like, come on, the dude's sword is literally on fire. It would make sense for like most mage characters to do magic damage in melee. I can understand maybe some factions, but yeah. So Gunnery mob's taken down. The Empire's going to be holding on to the middle objective, but this is a triple cap. The Empire's going to need to get all three objectives, and I don't know if they've realized this yet. And okay, right as I say that, the Empire player makes the correct play. I was about to say, you got to start pressing that back objective. You have time to do so. So getting the triple, 15 capture weight back press here is really smart, because by the time you're, finished up with Coast on objective 2 and you've gotten enough value here to push them back, your guys will be arriving on your opponent's back objective for the final hoorah, the big old push, right? Empire's actually in a little bit of danger in the capture weight situation here. The Huntsmen still have ammunition, going to want to unleash on the animated Hulks, as we do get the Empire Knights preparing to move across, maybe rear charge into some of the spears or guns. But yeah, it's dangerous. Those deckhand mobs trade pretty well into Empire Knights. Although if you rear charge them and are really on point with your cycle charging, you should be fine. Free Company Militia are such a damn cool unit. I really like these guys. They got their pistols out, and I love when they shoot the pistols in melee. They got their sabers and everything. Looks like Burning Head's going to be coming in, cooking those guys up. Better be careful not to roast your own Free Company, but we'll see how it goes. Empire Knights here could run some interference against the Scurvy Dogs. They do not get their charge off, so they're going to be very limp in combat. Empire Knights are absolutely a meme in melee combat if they don't get their charges. I mean, their melee attack is pitiful. It's in the 20s, and the charge bonus of 48 helps. Really, for Empire Knights, they're an expensive roadblock, but Empire needs to make a play for the back objective, Knights of the Black Rose. If you can get the Knights of the Black Rose on the dog units and the gun units, it's going to be nice, but you're certainly going to want to avoid those. Meanwhile, we do have the State Trooper Corps moving to the back objective. Very, very close knockdown drag-out game, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a fun one so far. I love seeing Empire versus Vampire Coast. I think Empire versus Coast and Empire versus Skaven are two of the most fun matchups in the game, just to watch and play. So this back objective looking pretty safe. Definitely, would you want to leave both Spearmen back here? I think there will come a time when you can send the Spearmen to the middle and leave one Spearman back here. That'd probably be enough. And Coast is definitely looking to reinforce their back objective. So they got halberds, they got guns. He's at 1366 points. On the middle, it's in danger. It looks like the Empire does have less capture weight. The undead do get multiple units of Scurvy Dogs here, which are going to be cut up by the Greatsword. So the Greatswords, I like the single Greatsword tech. I don't think that's bad. You know, as a counter tech against the Depth Guard, if you go with a Bright Wizard too, you can also bring a Flaming Sword of Ruin to give magic damage to him against Sirens. Kind of a cheeky tech, but you know, most good Coast players will just pull the Sirens back. We do see the Greatswords get terrified by Celastra, and I think the objective overall is going to be stabilized as we have more State Troopers on the way up. But now, are the Sigmarites going to be able to get the back objective? Demogorph Knights, where are they going? Knights of the Black Rose are having an embargo here, basically. They're like making sure that nobody's going to get in. I kind of like that. They're just like camping the spawn. Very cheeky tactic here. Can go after these pistol mobs and for sure farm them, but at this point, coming back here with the Empire Knight unit and rear charging these two undead units, I mean, they could kill these deckhand mobs with their anti-infantry bonus, especially if a Spearman gets on them. Would be the correct play, although middle's still in danger, so really, the Coast player is putting some dynamic pressure on his opponent here. So Spearmen do arrive, and the undead here are crumbling in the back. The Greatswords did rally for Sigmar, but they're finally going to be breaking. Greatswords they're probably one of my favorite units in tabletop. They're pretty awful, but they just look so good on the table. I'm like, sometimes you just gotta have rule of cool, man. I really hope that Games Workshop nerfs like big overpowered monsters and gives infantry some shine. Knights of the Black Rose looking epic with the big rear charge. They better be given the charge order. There they are. And these undead are going to get folded up really quickly. Even if they're halberds, they're not braced, and they're fully sandwiched. And Knights of the Black Rose are very good against infantry. So you can see these guys are going to start folding. Leadership set -20, so the crumbling damage is going to be substantial. And Empire does take the back objective, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very close game. Although Coast is in the process of maybe thieving the middle. Oh man, this is really Coast. I was about to say really close. So see what I'm saying about earlier, that Spearman reinforcing the middle would have been a good idea. Because, you know, the back pressure here would take too long at this point. So having the Spearman in the middle would pretty much mitigate this threat. The capture weight is flipping, though. A lot of undead crumbling down here. At this point, though, the Empire just wins on 2. So I think the Empire's got this one in the bag. Very, very scrappy game for sure. And, you know, good play on both sides, right? Despite some blunders here and there, they both played very well. They had good burning heads, some good back pushes and ambushes on the objectives. I thought it was a very, very fun match. And it looks like the Sons of Sigmar and Averland are going to be victorious. So the Mad Count cackling. He conscripted Boris Todbringer. Don't ask questions. And that is going to be a victory. 2,700 on the Knights of the Black Rose. I mean, they did insanely good. They were summoned twice. So they found a lot of freebies. Like in the woods, there was a couple. And, you know, maybe made me eat my words a little bit. So I'm happy to see that. Maybe mixing in one of those as a tech to deal with, like, you know, pistol mobs and various pieces like that isn't bad. Huntsmen were super, super good. Cannon did all right at 900 value. Toddy, Burning Head, Caster, very, very meta stuff. Demogorph Knights were interesting. I don't hate that choice. And yeah, it was overall very fun. For Zyro's build, I didn't hate it. This is like, but the thing is, this is more of like an aggressive build. I don't know what happened to the cannons. They must have gotten shut down somehow. Yeah, it looks like the cannons were killed maybe by some errant Empire Knights in the backfield. I feel like with this playstyle, though, this should be more aggression. Like, you should be pushing the Empire back and then back, like, stealing their home objective, too. Because this Empire build out of the gates would probably struggle to meet the aggression of this build. So I think a little bit more, like, pushing hard, pushing into the archers, and then pressing with Fellbats while doing that would be very, very good. But, you know, ultimately, it almost worked out for both players. All right, guys, see you around. That's it for today, and Sigmar bless.